All right, guys, if you're here, you must be interested in getting CrushFTP to work, okay, on Unraid. Let me tell you, it is quite a hassle. So this is in my pursuit of having FTPS, on my Unraid server, because from what my understanding is, the regular FTP server thing built in Unraid is just essentially trash. It's garbage, right? Right, you only get the disabled or enabled thing, right? And then that's it, right? When you hit apply, that's it. It just started, and you have your FTP server, right, with a user, right? Because you got to have a user that you created hopefully specifically for this, and then you're going to, through that user, select what you want to have access to and what you don't want it to have access to, I guess, right? But my understanding is that the FTP server, right? So obviously, as you can see, right, there's no FTPS, no FTPES or any of the nice stuff. And then also, my understanding as well is that this opens up the entire array to the FTP server, right? So you can't even limit the server to make sure that it's only able to see that, specifically what you need. So that's why you don't use this, and you got to go to container way. Okay. Now let me tell you guys something. Okay. I have tried many different FTP containers. Okay. On Unraid. The only one I didn't bother going through too much was, what was it? I think it was called Pure FTP. Was it? So yeah, it was this one, right? Because like I went through the CrushFTP 10, I went through SFTP, which doesn't have FTPS, right? In case you didn't know, now you know, right? SFTP Go also doesn't, it says it has FTPS, but like setting this up was like I couldn't get it to work reliably. Copy party, and at that point I was just like, bro, like why is this so complicated, right? And then I stopped at Pure FTP because I'm looking for a UI. Okay, guys, I hate the console with a passion. Lord knows I hate the console with a passion. So we try to do things with the UI. So let's actually go ahead and talk about it now. Okay. So CrushFTP, what do you need to have it set up? Well, first and foremost, right, you see this is 10. And so if you try to use this, right, you'll be using 10. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use 11. And so this is why we are here with this. Okay. So you can go ahead and you can just go ahead and hit install, and then whatever, the template thing that comes up, then you just change it. Okay. And this is what I did. So first and foremost, first thing you're going to want to do, if you want to follow exactly my tutorial here and what I'm doing, you need to change the repository. So as you saw here, I hit advanced view. You could already see the repository, but just know that I hit advanced view. We're going to change the repository from whatever it was to straight from CrushFTP, right? Because, I like to use direct from the source as best I can whenever I can, right? So CrushFTP 11 latest, of course, if you want to be fancy with it, you can go look and pick a specific, version that you use. Sure, why not? And then, of course, I changed the web UI thing. You don't have to do this, but you probably should, because it's just IP, so it'll default to IP, and then it'll do a port. You are going to want to make sure that the port is going to be whatever that you're assign it, which we'll get down to later. I want to say too, there might have been an extra parameter. If there is, make sure you delete it. Like this is how I have it set up here. Okay, and now let's go ahead and let's talk about this now. Okay. Now, I could, and I have gotten this to be accessible using the Unraid IP address, okay? Meaning like, I would just do a bridge, right? And then this is where all of this stuff would actually matter, okay? And then, then we'd be able to go inside and we can go from there. If you're a super amazing CrushFTP whiz and you know how to overcome the issues I had, then, you can go for it. But let me tell you something right now. This is not going to work. And the reason this isn't going to work is because for whatever reason, however CrushFTP programmed it, there is a setting where you're running your specific servers, so there's FTPS or SFTP, right, or any of the other like fancy stuff, you have to make sure that it knows the proper IP address. If you use the default lookup thing inside of it, it for whatever reason is going to grab your public IP address. I don't know how and why, but the lookup function on the container in the CrushFTP container will try to assign, like, you know, the ports and stuff and listen via your public IP address, which obviously wouldn't work because, you know, you'd have to like forward those and stuff, and you're not trying to, I wasn't trying to open this up to the internet, right? So I mean, unless you was trying to open this up to the internet and you had reasons for doing that, then you can do this via you know, the regular Unraid bridge thing, okay? But I can tell you right now, it's not going to work, especially if you're trying to keep it internal, right? I want my stuff to run through Tailscale, which we'll get into that in a separate video. But right now, I'm just going to show you guys how to at least get it working locally first, and then I'll show you the Tailscale setup of things, right? So what we need to do is you're going to need to give it a IP address, okay? You are going to have to give an IP address to this container. There is no way to get around this. I tried, trust me, I've tried, okay? And so hopefully you're coming from my other video where I just showed you guys like the quick, easy way of making a Docker custom network, right? Shoot, I think I might even still have the command here, right? And this is if you got to do it through the console. Like I said, check your Docker setting first, of which, you know, like I said, I already went through in the video. But you're going to need to give this a custom IP address, okay? So what I am going to do here is, and of course, you want to make sure too, it also helps that you have this IP address, what is it, allocated or isolated in your router, right? Which I'll, you know, for my OpenWrt users, I'll give a quick like showing of that just so you know what I'm talking about. So let me do 192.168.4. I think I gave this like 156. So I'm gonna give this 156, and then you can go ahead and you can then, you know, make changes to the ports if you want. Just keep in mind, okay, I know that this that these ports here, like this is going to go against all the different conventions that you probably know of, right? This stuff only works when the Unraid container is in bridge mode, okay? When it has its own custom network, none of the port stuff actually matters, okay? I'm just mentioning the port stuff thing in case if you wanted, if you was trying to find a way to do a bridge thing, but I can tell you right now, none of this actually works or matters, okay? Once you give this its own IP address, the container itself is actually in control of the ports that it's listening to, as far as I am aware. It's a really unique kind of like how it works, okay? And also too, right, because you would have probably been doing this from hitting install on this first and then making the edits to the XML that just comes up, right? Because you see, obviously I changed the name. You can honestly probably just nuke all of this because none of this is going to matter. Like I tried messing with all this too, just to double check and make sure none of this matters. It doesn't impact the container whatsoever. You would have to actually go to you would have to actually go to the repository on Docker Hub, which is not this, but you go to the repository on Docker Hub if you want to find out the variables and stuff. But like I said, I'm showing you a very easy way to go about doing this. Okay, so this is important. This is all information you really should know. Now, I am going to mention though, right? Because like I said, our end goal is FTP, right? Is to, you know, make an FTP thing. You do want to mount wherever you want the FTP stuff to go. Okay, so as you can see here, I had made a folder path, right? So you go here, path, right? You can give it a name, right? Path inside the container of where you want the container to be able to navigate to, you know, in order to like, you know, get to whatever folder, right? And then where that folder actually translate on your actual server itself on the host path, right? So, you know, wherever the stuff is, okay? And as you can see here for me, right, because I got a camera system and I want to be able to have my cameras, you know, the videos backed up to this location here, okay? So I made a, so this is the host location, right? So this is on my server. Okay, and then this is the actual container path. So inside the container, this is where like this folder will technically reside. All right, this is probably the only thing you have to mess with. Everything else just truly does not matter. It just truly doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and I'm going to hit apply, and let me just double check here real quick. Yeah, right. I just, nervous for a second, but yep, let's go ahead and hit apply. Okay. So we'll wait for that to install, and then we'll go ahead and we'll pick it back up. Oh my goodness, I totally forgot. I'm gonna probably just show you guys to it too, right? This is going to be really, really important. Okay. There was actually one setting that was hidden. Let me see if I can, let me try to go back to it real quick so I can just show you guys. Okay. Or yeah, there was one setting that was actually hidden that is actually super, 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 super important. Okay. It's just this right here. Okay. This is originally, okay, in the container, this is originally, I want to say app/CrushFTP 10 or something like that. Okay. Now this was immediately problem number one that you're going to have. Okay. For whatever reason, okay, the container would actually fail. Let me see if I can go into the command. Yeah, see, it says unable to process or access the jar file, right? Actually, I'm actually pretty happy to show this, right? So again, I don't know why this is well, actually, I kind of do know why, because apparently there's two different variants of like how a Docker container is created for whatever reason, because, the world hates us. Let me just actually go into it the proper way here. Right, so obviously this isn't going to work because it won't make the proper container files in it, or they're missing for whatever, for the strange reason. But you're going to need advanced view. That was the whole reason why I checked advanced view. Go here and you're going to need the edit. Okay, so this is originally, I want to say it's like CrushFTP 10, which is fine, right? You can leave that as it is, but you're going to change this later, okay? And I'm going to explain why when we get to that part, right? So for now, let me go ahead and apply this, and you should see that this actually now works without a problem. All right, so if I go here in the container and boom, right, there you go, right? So it works, right? You probably wouldn't have this issue initially just because yeah, that would have already been set, but you're going to need to change it the other way soon. Okay. And there's a huge reason for that. And it's going to be about persistence, because the persistence is trash. Okay. So let me grab this IP address real quick, and let's go ahead and click on it. Okay. So I want to say that the HTTPS one should be up. If you wanted to use the regular HTTP, I think you do have to specify 8080 or whatever is the container. What is it? Let me see. What is it? I think it's 22. Oh yeah, 8080, right? Yeah, right. So you'd have to specify 8080, which, so if you want to do that, you can just simply do colon 8080 right on the IP address, and that'll take you into, oh sorry, before that actually errors out, right? Because that's the HTTP, and I still kept the HTTPS. So HTTP 80, right? And then boom, right? You see, there you go, that works, right? And then of course, like, if you want to use the HTTPS : right, you could just use it as is, right? Because it's going to default to 443. But then, of course, you saw that it had the certificate thing, excuse me, which is fine, because you could just continue. Okay. Now, default is going to be crush admin, and password is going to be password, right? All lowercase, everything's lowercase. We're going to sign in. Okay. Don't need that right now. Okay. And then here you go, right? You now have CrushFTP up and running. Okay. Now, this is the super important piece right here. Okay. Now, remember when I told you we're going to need to change this to just regular app later, right? Because as things are right now, right? This is not persistent. Anything you create here, if this container ever goes down, like, you know, if the container ever goes down and then back up, right, you'll lose everything that you set up. It doesn't save a goddamn thing. You know, the natural, and I mean, like, you know, like for example, updating container, or you remove it and then you re-add it, right? All that's gone, right? And that's just because we don't actually have it saving any of the physical files. But as you saw, right, when we did /.app, right, it couldn't find the files because they don't exist, because it doesn't actually create them like you would think, since most containers usually do that, right? Since a lot of containers usually do that. So what you need to do now, okay, is you're going to need to go here to user manager. Okay, you're going to need to go ahead and just use the default, you know, click on the default thing, right? Like I said, you're not creating nothing here because ain't nothing about to save. Okay, and you're going to want to test this out to make sure anyway. So it's best to just use it as is. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drag this app folder here to the user section. Okay, you can check all these boxes. Really, we just need the download thing working, but you could do this because sometimes, like, depending on what you're using, might act a little crazy or finicky, right? And then we're going boom, right? We're going to save that. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Let's squeeze over here to this, and like I said, right, for whatever reason, the lookup thing just refuses to use like the container's actual IP address. Okay, this is what it would look like if I was, you know, if I did the bridge thing, I didn't give it you know, its own custom IP address. So now I'm gonna try and actually assign it, right? So 192.168.4.156. okay, and let me hit save. Let's see if this works. Okay, boom, right, it's saved. If you try to do this with Unraid, right, making it try to use the server's IP address, it's going to actually error out here, and it'll tell you that this that, you know, the device or whatever is not using that IP address, so it can't assign it. So that's what that's what I literally mean by, like, whatever logic they're using here is garbage, it's trash, it just doesn't work. Okay, as far as like you trying to just keep things locally. So right, so as you see, I made sure that I signed the IP address it is actually using, right, which is this. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to test out the FTP. Okay, so let me come over here. I'm gonna go to new site, right? I'm FTP. So I'm using what is it called? WinSCP, right? Yeah, I'm using WinSCP. Okay. You know, you can use your favorite FTP app, whatever it is. Okay, none of that will really matter. We're going to do host as as the IP address, right? So you can give it the IP address, port number, and then you're going to actually then give it the username and password, right? Which, like I say, you know, we're using the default thing here. So let's go ahead and just do, let me just make sure I do that right. So default, which is CrushAdmin, and then password is just the word password. I'm going to just type it right here so you just know what I'm saying, right? Password, right? It is just password lowercase. So just remember that, okay? Password lowercase, and then I'm gonna hit login, and then boom, right? You see that I am in, and then look at that, right? Here go all these files. Now here's what you need to do. You need to go ahead and you need to copy all of these files onto your computer. Copy them onto your computer, right? And then nuke it. Or nuke the container. Okay, so I already have them copied, so I'm going to you know, I'm gonna spare you guys of that part, right? So I have them copied. I'm just showing you like how to go through it. Okay, because right now at this point here, right, you're already good. Now we just need the persistence to kind of move on to the next piece here. Let's go ahead and jump out and hit done. And then we're going to go ahead and edit this container again. Okay. Well, first I'm going to stop it, right? You are going to stop it because you're going to need to actually go ahead and make the edits. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit edit. Go like that. All right. Now we're going to, oh, you know what? Got to go to advanced view, right? Go advanced view, go here, edit. And then we're going to change this back to just app. All right. I'm going to hit save. Beautiful. Right. And then I'm actually go back here into thing here, as you see, because you see it's not working no more. We'll go on to my server. Okay, and then I'm going to go into where I have the CrushFTP at, and as you can see, it's even empty, right? So that's already assigned there because you saw in the Docker container, right, that it had the CrushFTP 10 folder, and that didn't even like show up in our container, right? And that's okay, right? I'm not gonna think about it all too much, right? But let me go ahead and now go ahead and copy my stuff here, right? This is from my other backup. I don't need these. Okay, so all right, so we're copying now. We're copying our little backup thing here. And oh yeah, so well, actually, hopefully it shows that. So we're going to I'm a talk about it afterwards. And this is going to be important, okay? This is only easy with WinSCP, or at least I only know how to do this with WinSCP. If you have another FTP application that lets you handle permissions and stuff, because permissions is going to be the next major hurdle that we're going to get through, that even Unraid cannot actually, the Unraid UI isn't going to actually be able to help you with, right? You're going to need an application like WinSCP that works like WinSCP in order to do it. So, okay, cool. We're on here, right? So as you can see, everything's all, you know, root and whatnot. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hit apply, which should bring the container down, back up. Let's go into here. Okay, and then you see out the gate, right, where we have some errors, right? This is all caused by some really weird permission issues. Okay, but it's going to be important I show you this because, oh my goodness, is there like some unique caveats to this stuff. All right. So now what I'm going to do is, okay, cool, right? So I'm back in, okay, and I am going to do crush admin, right, and then keeping the password the same, or, you know, password's password, right? Now, yeah, I don't need that right now. Okay. Now, first and foremost, if that didn't work for whatever reason, okay, the first thing you do want to do is just make sure that your permissions are roots and read and writes. Okay, so you know you can highlight everything, you can right click it, you can hit properties, and then boom, right, you can change it here, right? Root. I believe it's like, what is it, 0755, I think is the octal. I don't know why it doesn't show it here. Maybe if I click on one, if I click, oh, because they're all different, right? Because some of these are different, right? Yeah, 0755, okay? 0755, because you can just type it in here instead of having to check the box, right? But root, make sure it's all root, and then that should let you get back in, right? Because sometimes like the permission thing, you know, it, like the container will be up and it'll look like it's working, but it won't when you try to sign in, because it'll complain about access or something. Okay, but all right, so let's go ahead and let's hit admin, user manager. Okay, yeah, see, because it got all my my stuff here. And what I'm going to do now is let's go back to the crush admin for a second here. I'm sorry, not that. Let's actually make a user here real quick. Okay, let me say demo. All right, this is super important. All right, so I'm gonna just say demo, password. I don't know, I'm gonna just say, you know. All right, so here we are. Right, it didn't work. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change those permissions, right? Because this is the part I wanted to show you guys. All right, so I didn't mess with the keys, although if this doesn't work, we'll do the keys too. But just highlight everything, right click, hit properties, root, and I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, do 077 for everything. Okay, let's do that. And you know what, I don't think I actually checked it. Let me make sure. Yep, set. Make sure this is recursive, right? Just go ahead and do this. Like I said, it'll save you all the different kinds of hassles later. Okay, boom, right? So it did that. Now if I try to do it again, right? So let me say demo. Okay, and then let me just get, you know, whatever. It's not like it matters. Okay, boom, right? It created it. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this and why you need to do that, right? You need to do that real quick, right? Because when you copied your stuff back over, right, it's going to be like root and it's going to have all, you know, whatever stuff. And you do not want to leave it like that, okay? So let's go ahead and go to users. Let's, I think it does it in main user, right? Okay, cool, right? Now look at this, right? Demo has this at 35532. So if I go here, okay, 35532, and you see a 0775. So I'm going to copy that. Like I said, in Unraid just isn't, I think Unraid will show you this, but as far as like trying to set this for everything in here, I couldn't get it to work. But all right, so we did that. So let's go ahead and highlight everything again now, right? And that's why I needed to show you that, because you need to find that, that ID, whatever it is, and you need to set it. So I'm gonna go here, right, for owner and group, because you saw it was the same thing. And then I'm gonna change this to, back to now the 0755. And of course, we're gonna set it recursively, okay? And then we're going to go ahead, let it do its thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try and make another user. If we don't get any issues, no problems, then this worked without a problem. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's say demo 2 or demo 1, right? Whatever that. And let me just do another password, and it created. There you go, right? You are now done. That's it, right? You now have CrushFTP running. Okay, it's persistent. Let me just nuke. These users here real quick while I'm talking about it, right? But you now have persistent, right? I showed you the preferences, right? And I showed you how to set up the container thing here. So now we're going to now talk about getting this properly set up now, right, for FTPS. So where are we at so far? Okay, so we have CrushFTP running. It has its own IP address, which is required. Okay, if you want this to run on Unraid, it has to have its own IP address, because this lookup thing is trash. Okay, this logic lookup thing is trash. Okay, remember that. And now we're going to go ahead and set up the FTPS. Okay. So what you need to do is not this implicit SSL. You want to leave it on the regular FTP, and then you're going to go ahead, you're going to go in advanced, and you're going, I checked all of these boxes. You probably only need just those two, maybe, right? But I just wanted to be a secure sponsor, right? So I just checked those. I didn't mess with anything else. There's also no IP restrictions, nothing like that. And yeah, that's that, right? So let's go. So this should already be good, right? Because I didn't change anything. Now let's see if it works, right? Even with the lookup thing as it is. So explicit, crush admin password, right? Port 21, and yeah, so there you go, right? So it is working. So I'm gonna say yes, right? Continue connecting, store, and then it says access denied. Oh, I'm sorry. Right. That's because I have this here. So let me put this back real quick. Yeah. Right. Well, which I'll get into that part in a second. All right. So so this should they should let me connect right back without a problem. Right. Okay, cool. Right. Boom. It let me in. All right. If you now if you start having any weird like problems, like trying to like when you navigate something, or it just keeps complaining that there's like an error, like a control error, and then it works again, right? That's going to be because of the IP address. Okay, which, like I said, even though now it's showing me that it's still using my public IP address, I am going to change this to the IP address that it should have, right, which is 4.156, for in this demonstration. Okay, right, and I'm gonna hit save, right? Container is stopped and it's back up, and this should still be good, right? Yeah, see, it's still good, it's in here. All right, fantastic. Okay, this is important because my understanding, and like I said, guys, I'm not like a professional at any of this by any means. I just record these so that you don't struggle through the days it took me to get something like this up and going, because it took me days to get this. Okay, but my understanding is that for FTP communications, it is so important that the communication has the right IP address and it knows what ports to inform the client of, so that it's able to do whatever FTP magic it does. Okay, you see that right now, right? Because you saw that we use the encryption and everything, so we know that the FTPS is working perfectly fine, right? That's flawless. It's all good. Okay. If for whatever reason you have like a weird error where it's like it's complaining about control thing or something, right? Just make sure that you manually set the IP address to this, to whatever IP address that the container itself is actually using. Like I said, if you're doing this in bridge mode, it's not going to set whatever. It's not going to set the IP address that Unraid is the Unraid server is actually running on, right? So that's why we had to give it its own IP address. But do this, right? You can change this if you want. Cool. But yeah, that's it. You are basically done now. Now, as far as what you saw that I did, this is going to be the bonus thing, and it's going to be about making an actual group of users specifically for this, right? Because I said the documentation and stuff, it's really messy, and they don't really do a good job like making this user friendly. So what do you do? Okay, so what you do is you go here on the bottom right here where it says what's this user connection group, and you're going to hit add. Okay, so you're going to hit add, and then you're going to give it a name. Okay, which in my case was, it's called FTPers. Okay, and then I went ahead, right? And then once you do that, then you can add that here. I'm gonna just go ahead and just do that now and hit save so that it's already there, because you'll see this eventually get kicked off. But you'll make the group name, you'll add it here, and then you'll go here to user management. Now, this is what you have to do. Okay, you have to now click up here, user connection group, and you have to change this because it should be up here, right? FTPers, okay? And then boom, right? Then you can go ahead and you can create your user, right? So you can add a user, right? Create whatever username, blah, blah, blah. And then it's, it's all golden, right? Because then you can come here, as you saw earlier, right? This is how you assign it to the stuff it has access to. If it's only one folder, okay, this is important, which you actually kind of already saw. It still didn't kick it off yet? Oh, because it still has the same session. Yeah, it's always, don't ask me. All right, if you only have one folder, right, that you put here, then it's going to treat this folder as the root, meaning that as far as the clients are concerned, when the clients navigate to the root directory, they're going to see whatever is in this one sole folder here. Okay. Now I don't know if I haven't personally tried. I mean, I guess I can try and see, just so we can just kind of see, right? If I add another one and hit save and then come back over here and refresh. All right. And boom, right? So there you go, right? I probably should explain that, right? I just changed the thing back to this because I just realized that since I changed it to FTPers that it wasn't even gonna work anyway. But right, so I just used that, right? Change the password real quick, and then as you can see, so now at root, right, if you have more than one folder, you'll see that that's what is gonna actually show in there, right? But like I said, if you then remove it, or like I said, if it's only just one, the one and only folder, right? Let me hit save. I don't know if this is oh yeah, see, it says no app directory. So if I go back here, I try to, can I refresh? So it's probably just because it's a stale session. Does it let me, can I just duplicate? Will it let me, yeah, it does let me duplicate. Nice. Okay, cool. So okay. So, but there you go, right? Boom. Yeah, it gets treated as root. That is mostly it. The very last thing I'm just going to show you, because it's also not very intuitive, is going to be the show all button, right? You need to click over here on the show all in order to actually expose all of the settings that are available to assign to a user. Okay, this took me a long time to figure out because I was like, because like without it, I just kept seeing this thing that just kept saying like, show all, and I'm like, bro, I'm trying to make a new admin user, like, and and do a bunch of stuff, and it just like I don't understand what's going on, and then I realized it's actually up here in this top right, and then boom, right, you get all of your different settings and whatnot. But there you go, right? I wish this could have been much easier and smoother, but this is actually the only way to get CrushFTP working on Unraid, as far as I was able to figure out. Okay, and so now that part is done, you can join me in the next one upcoming, which is going to be on getting this to work in tail scale. Excuse me, boy. See, do this so long, the voice goes out. So I'm gonna end the video here, and then like I said, if that's of interest to you, just catch the next video. But like I said, just as a quick recap, you know, like I said, I gotta remember to just make sure I'm doing those. Okay, so as a quick recap, right, you know, we create the container. Like I said, we use the we just use this as the base, right? Hit install, and then we made all those changes. Make sure you hit advanced view, right? It changes where, you know, we make our custom IP address, right? Like I said, you know, if you don't remember how to make a custom network, look at that video I had made where you just simply just go into the console, you know, you do your thing, and then boom, that's if it's not already there. What else there, right? And then because, like, you know, it's using his own custom IP address, none of the bridge stuff matters. So I could have removed all of this, right? I probably could have removed all of this, but I just didn't bother with it. It's just, you know, it's whatever. And then, you know, this is going to be app, right? So like the app directory for CrushFTP, and that's if it's even there. If for whatever reason, like, it doesn't even have it, you know what? I'm saying it like I can't just install. Yeah, that's fine. Let's just hit install. I just want to remind myself what this even looks like again. And mount users, if I show here, yeah, see, so see, like, this is what it has here. Yeah, you just need to change that to just change it to just app/CrushFTP 10 temporarily, just so we can get this running, right? Which you saw that we got running. We did what we needed to do in the user management in order to just get the app directory. Let me remove this so don't forget about it. To get the app directory available on FTP, we came in here, we copied it onto our computer. Once we copied it onto the computer, right, then we went ahead and we changed this back to a regular app, which is, you know, where the host file is, making sure that we copied what we backed up back onto that directory, right? So that you know, the Java files or whatever is actually there. Okay. Excuse me. After that, at that moment in time, you now have a persistent CrushFTP, right? Because prior to that, CrushFTP doesn't save nothing that you change it to. And then after that, then you're able to actually do stuff. And as you saw, like, you know, that was more or less how we did it. And you saw how we were able to do, oh yeah, let me save that. And you saw how we were able to make sure, mute that again, right? And then make sure that, you know, we enable FTP, all these here to get FTPS on and going. So that's it. We're now done. And now our next part is going to be the tail scale piece of this, which is going to be fun.